Good evening and welcome to this webinar on building effective occupational health and safety management system in the organization. So as you could see, this is a recorded session and this recording can be availed as well. So we shall be sharing a Google form at the end so that you can fill it and we will be giving you the access to this webinar. So without much delay, I think we can get started with the session. So before I hand over to Mr. Ganapathi, I would like to give you a small introduction about him as well as on this webinar topic. So it gives me an absolute pleasure to introduce today's distinguished speaker, Mr. Ganapathi Bovindala, a self-actualized professional with over 35 years of global experience in training, audit, and project management. Having worked extensively across Nigeria, the United Kingdom of Nigeria, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and India, Mr. Bovindala brings a rich and diverse perspective to the field of environment, health, and safety. His career spans in critical sectors such as oil, gas, and energy, marine construction, chemicals, and power, where he had made a significant contribution through his expertise and leadership. He has dedicated over 20 years specifically to training, empowering professionals to uphold the highest standard of safety and operational excellence. Mr. Bovindala holds an expressive and as well as an impressive array of qualifications, including the NABOSH International Diploma in Occupational Health and Safety, ISO 4501 Lead Auditor Certification, and multiple advanced certifications in industrial safety, OSHA standards, and construction safety. His academic excellence is further highlighted by his distinction as a topper in the IIT Chennai on the course of safety in construction. Today, he brings his profound knowledge and real-world insight to our session, inspiring us to think more deeply about the role of robust safety management in driving sustainable success. Please join me in warmly welcoming Mr. Ganapathi. So I'm going to make Mr. Ganapathi as the host, and so you can take up from there.
Very good evening to everybody, and welcome to this webinar, which is a 1-hour webinar, where we will go through on the aspect of building effective systems for managing health and safety at the workplace. Okay, so I would like to share my screen, and I would request for any questions. Okay, during the session as well as, but would prefer to have them. This session would run for about 45 minutes, and then the last 15 minutes will be for the question and answer session. Okay, so let me share my screen so that we can start discussing. So building effective health and safety management systems. Okay, so what do we mean by health and safety management systems? Today we are going to discuss about how do we build effective health and safety management systems at the workplace. So can I get a response from you people with respect to the type of industry that you come from? Like, say, each of the participants, he can type in the chat box about his industry, whether it is construction, whether it is oil and gas, whether it is manufacturing, chemicals, so on and so forth. And I'd be grateful so that we can try and see how we can incorporate those fields into today's webinar. Okay. So I look forward to your responses in the chat box. Okay. Is from commerce. Okay, good. Construction, that's very good. Construction is Mohammed. Al Rashid. Okay. Uh, from construction, oil and gas, we have yes, we have certain from some people from the fertilizer industry. That's good. That gives me a brief idea of what the session or needs to cover to. Okay, so we all understand what is a health and safety management system. It is a collection. It is a framework of interacting. Okay, interdependent elements. Okay, it is a collection of interacting interdependent elements that help us to manage occupational health and safety at the workplace. So nowadays, the most internationally relevant standard is ISO 45001, isn't it? As a health and safety management system. So what does it do? What does it cover? Does it cover the fertilizer industry? Does it cover the oil and gas industry? Does it cover the construction industry? Yes. So this is a management system which covers almost each and every field of work as as long as it concerns itself with the occupational health and safety management. Okay. So basically, if we ask anybody the question, what is safety? So what will be the answer usually? Some might say it is absence of danger, or some might say it is a place that is safe. Okay, and just talking about. So basically, we talk about safety in terms of absence of certain things, like absence of harm or danger, isn't it? So basically, whether it is health or say, and health, how do we define health? Health is a state of well-being as per World Health Organization. A state of well-being, not merely the absence of any infirmity or ill health, but also a state of psychological, social, and physical well-being. Okay, so that is mental as well as physical as well as social well-being. So this is health and safety. So what are we concerned with? We are concerned with the health and safety as a means of occupational health and safety. That is health and safety at the workplace. How do we build systems that can help us manage the health and safety at the workplace? So if you look at the olden times, health used to be managed in terms of incidents. That is, you might have heard of the word leading parameters and lagging parameters. Okay, so we might have heard about the word that see, this organization is very good. They haven't had any accidents from so and so time to so and so time. So what are we discussing about occupational health and safety with regard to that particular organization? We are discussing with regard to lack of any accidents. So that was one way of thinking, or if you can say it's a traditional way of thinking, wherein people worked or prepared or built effective management systems. Built effective or not, we will understand in in a short while. But whether they try to build systems which will prevent accident, which are based on accidents, that lagging parameters, like you say, so much is the LTI, so much is the fatality, this thing. So these were the basis for building a management system. However, in the modern times, things have changed. The emphasis has now moved from the lagging parameters to the leading parameters. So what do these leading parameters do? These leading parameters, when they are built into effective health and safety management systems, they help prevent the accidents from happening. And as such, okay, are a proactive way of handling safety or managing health and safety systems, isn't it? So just a quick moment while I change. Okay. So we can say that we used to manage safety in two different ways as of now. One was the traditional way, and the other is different from the traditional way. Okay. So the traditional safety management was one aspect, and which was quite earlier, starting during the times of um, start of the start of the industrial economy and all that across the world. Okay, and now we have the ISO 45001, which is a proactive safety management system. Okay, which handles safety differently. Okay, instead of just focusing on the lagging parameters, we focus more on the leading parameters. That's the advantage of this proactive safety management system. Now, let's quickly understand what is the meaning of this traditional safety or management systems which were based on traditional safety. Great. Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. Okay. So traditional safety management systems, okay, what do they do? They focus on incident prevention through rules and regulations and compliance, isn't it? So earlier, what we used to have, we used to have a certain rules. So when we tell the people you have to follow safety, this is the safety rule. You have to follow this. This is the law. You cannot break the law, or you have to comply with the rules. Like you take this is like the law comes in three different types of modes, isn't it? The law, one is called the absolute duty, the other one is called the practicable duty, and the other one is called reasonably practicable duty, isn't it? So when we are talking about safety rules or compliance, so if you take the PPE, the PPE is nothing but an absolute duty. That it is a duty of the occupier, or it is the duty of the owner of the organization to provide the PPE free of cost to the workers at no extra cost, or free of cost to the workers, isn't it? So this is a way of absolute duty, that it is written in law that this is the absolute duty of the owner. Whereas what is the absolute duty of the worker? It is the absolute duty of the worker to obey and follow the rules and regulations as provided by the owner of the organization. So these are the things. So absolute duty is there. Then we have the, when we are doing the risk assessment, okay, when we are doing these JSA or things like this, what are we looking for, or what are we meeting? We are meeting the word as far as reasonably practicable. So what are we doing as far as reasonably practicable? We are managing the risk. How are we managing the risk? By using the three terms: time, trouble, and cost. So what is this time, trouble, and cost? See, when we see that there is a risk, okay, and we need to control that risk, that means that risk is coming under the higher risk category, or if you look at the matrix, which is 3 by 3 or 5 by 5, it will be coming in the square, which is having the number 9 in terms of 3 by 3 matrix, or the number 25 in terms of the 5 by 5 matrix. Then we cannot proceed with such high risk. So what we need to do, we need to work on either the likelihood, or we need to work on the severity, or either on both of likelihood and severity, or likelihood and consequence, or probability and consequence, and reduce it, bring it to something which is lower, okay, and work on it. So this, when we are doing this transfer from 25 to something like say 10, okay, and we are working on reducing either likelihood, or we are working on reducing both likelihood and consequence, we are using a hierarchy of control, isn't it? So this hierarchy of control, what is it helping us to do? It is helping us either to eliminate, or substitute, or control, engineering controls or administrative controls. It is a step-by-step hierarchy. So we have to first go for this elimination step. When the trouble, time, and cost is too much, we can go for the next, which is substitution. Even then, the time, trouble, and cost is beyond the organization's limit. They'll go to the next level, which is um, engineering control. When the engineering control is also uh, time wise, or trouble wise, or cost wise is very high for the organization to bear, so it will go, they'll go into something like administrative, or the last but not the least, they'll go for the PPE. So this is the approach. This approach which we adopt when we prepare the risk assessment to manage the risk is called the we are using the time, trouble, and cost. So we are reducing the risk as far as reasonably practicable. That is when we are balancing the risk using the time, trouble, and cost when deciding what sort of controls can be put in. So we are trying to bring the risk down. We are using this term which is given, which is the least of all, which is a freedom given by the law to us to reduce the risk as far as reasonably practicable. So what is this? This is not a prescriptive law. This is giving us a chance to adjust ourselves, and whereas the absolute duty is purely prescriptive law. That means the law says you have to provide the PPE to the people, means the PPE has to be provided to the people. If it is not provided, it is a compliance issue, and the law can give penalties, can stop work, or take whatever course of action the safety inspector feels like, isn't it? Okay. Am I clearly understood by everybody? Do you have any questions in this so far? If yes,
Loud
you're
and
welcome. Sorry.
loud and clear.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So, so how did these traditional safety systems work is they usually worked in a with a reactive approach. That is, you actually, some accident or something, you take the case of 1984 India, you take the case of Bhopal gas tragedy. I'm sure most of you people know that this thing happened in India, and we lost almost 25,000 people or more. Forget about the loss to the ecosystem, loss to the flora and fauna in the surrounding areas. Okay, so very tragic incident. Okay, so earlier to this, there was the law, there was the Factories Act 1948, but the reaction to this particular incident, how it happened, the law changed, isn't it? They put up an investigation committee. They tried to find out what is the reason behind this, isn't it? So when they discovered certain reasons, okay, some may be immediate reasons, some may be underlying reasons, and others may be the root causes. So when can we prevent accidents? When we get to the root causes, and when we are able to make changes that prevent these root causes from happening, we will be able to prevent these accidents. So how did they do? They brought changes in the law. Okay, that is, they brought changes in the law, like they said organizations which are storing chemicals should report to the ministry about the quantity of the material they are storing, and it's about its whether it's hazardous or not. So if it is hazardous, what is the what type of hazards does it pose, as well as have a on-site and off-site emergency response plan. Because the Bhopal gas tragedy, though it happened within the chemical factory, okay, which was manufacturing sevin, or a type of pesticide, the when several things came into work together, like basically the root cause was the water entering into the methyl isocyanate tanks. It started a runaway reaction, a huge exothermic reaction, which blasted the tank, which flew out from its underground place where it was stationed, and this led to the leak of the gases. The refrigeration system, which was supposed to cool the tank, did not work as it was removed for maintenance purpose. Even the escaping gas, which was supposed to go through a shower tower, something like a shower which we have in the bathroom, okay. So if this gas is escaping, okay, the water is sprayed on this gas, and the water will absorb the methyl isocyanate and it will come down to the ground. This will prevent the spread of this gas towards the Bhopal city. However, this system also did not work, thereby causing the gases to go all over the city and leading to the loss of human as well as animal, flora, fauna, and other losses. So basically, traditional safety was a safety which was reactionary in nature. That means it was driven by past incidents. That is, the law changed to cater to the past incidents. It was not like the reasonably practicable. It was not like a recommendative law. It was saying do this, don't do this. So organizations which which have a priority more towards saving costs and more towards increasing productivity, it gave them the opportunity to either stay within those particular prescriptive laws and not create not create certain proactive approaches which could have prevented these accidents. So this is the basic way in which traditional safety worked. So it worked based upon past incidents, that is, lagging indicators like number of accidents. Okay, so they used to do an investigation, and then they used to find out the immediate causes, underlying causes, and the root causes. Sometimes the technology or the knowledge available was only, or the level of investigation got stuck up at the. I'm able to hear some crosstalk, please. Can can the person please mute himself? Okay. So this what happens was, so instead of going for instead of like the recommendative or recommendative laws actually give the organizations the authority to decide for themselves on the basis of reasonable practicability. Okay, on the basis of reasonable practicability to decide what sort of controls they can have, isn't it? Okay, are you people able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So we are still in this third slide, in the beginning slide. Okay. So until now, we discussed about health and safety management systems, what they are. They are interacting, they're a set of interacting, interdependent elements that help us manage occupational health and safety. And today we are discussing about traditional safety management systems and proactive safety management systems. And then we will go on to see what are the elements that will help us to build an effective health and safety management system. Okay, that is our roadmap. That is how we will go through. Okay, so it is 9:11 p.m. right now. So we started at 9. So 9:45 we will be um, we will try and conclude this by 9:45, and then the 15 minutes, last 15 minutes, we will take up the questions or concerns. If any of you have any concerns, please note it and keep it, or you can also put it on the chat so that we can answer these things. Okay, so basically traditional systems were reactive in their approach, and they were driven by the past incidents. Okay, or by the lagging indicators. Okay, so they were response oriented acts after accidents to prevent reoccurrence. Okay, so what were the tools used? They were audits, inspections, checklists, and incident investigations. Right, even today, even in the proactive management systems, we use these, but these are all. Audits are proactive, definitely. Inspections are also proactive, but incident investigation is reactive, isn't it? However, it is not considered to be reactive when you are investigating a near miss, isn't it? Because there is no loss associated with a near miss. So traditional safety management systems, their mindset was, if no one got hurt, things are fine. Okay, but we know very well that hazards always keep changing, and we always heard about this one, that we should, our thinking should always be such that accident is about to happen. What should I do this? If such and such a scenario happens, what are the controls that I should place to prevent it? Isn't it? That used to be the mindset. The mindset used to be like, okay, there have not been any incident for the past 6 months, so I am happy. But during this past 6 months, though we are following the same procedures, maybe a lot of complacency has set in, isn't it? So people tend to, nothing has happened so far, nothing can happen to me, I'm quite okay. Until the thing happens, they will be thinking on these lines. So that is why it is called a traditional health and safety management system. Okay. Responsibility. Most lives mostly lies with the safety officer or dedicated department. See, in the 1970s, that is 1970s, we had the OSHA, which is coming under the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. Okay, this is coming under the Department of Labor, USA. Then we have the HSE, which is the Health and Safety Executive, coming under the UK government. Okay, so like that, we had these organizations coming in, and we have this role of safety officer and safety manager, safety professional coming in during those times, because during those times, okay, so they felt there was a need for a separate role and responsibility to take care of the health, safety, and environmental issues. So basically, if you are going to an organization and you are asking the workers and the supervisors, if you're asking them this question, you will find some hands rising in agreement, though not all, some. This is because of these particular organizations which have come in. That is, if you ask, you see, I'm saying this statement. Please, if any of you agree to this one, raise your hands. And those who do not agree, do not raise your hands. Okay. So when we ask this question to supervisors or workers, a group of workers, say in an organization which is following traditional safety, okay, not the proactive safety, I ask the question, work is the work of the line management, whereas it is the duty of the safety officer to make their work safe. So we will see some hands rising. Why? Because that is the mindset. The mindset is that of, see, I am not responsible for safety. It is a separate discipline in itself, and there is a separate role and responsibility, and a particular safety officer or a safety manager should ensure my safety. So isn't it inherently flawed? If you look at it in terms of the present day proactive approach, it is flawed, right? Nowadays, in the modern days, when we are following, when organizations are following the proactive safety management system, which is ISO 45001, okay, people will not lift their hands. They will say safety is everybody's responsibility. More so, it is the line management's responsibility. Then some people may ask, oh, then what is the role and responsibility of the safety officer? Well, the role and responsibility of the safety officer is to advise, assist, train, report, record. Okay. And if he is doing something else other than these and the three functions of any safety professional, which is to identify the hazards, evaluate the risk, and control the risk, if we are asking a safety officer to do something beyond this, we are treading into territory that is illegal in nature, because most laws are which are prescriptive in nature, okay, or most laws which are recommendative in nature clearly say that the job of the safety officer, the role and responsibility of the safety officer is that of a person who is dedicated to identifying, evaluating and addressing risk, hazards, and the risk associated. His job is to try to always to think of ways in terms of hierarchy of control, in terms of time, trouble, and cost, in terms of likelihood, in terms of severity, should bring it down. However, even if the safety officer or the safety engineer is from a particular background, say from a mechanical background, but the industry is a fertilizer industry, who is in a better position to handle the hazards or understand the hazards in a better way? The 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 line management or the safety engineer? Who is better positioned to identify the hazards? Because the line management is a technical function, because they will be aware of, because of a huge amount of experience and having done engineering in that particular field, in that particular industry, having worked for several years, the ability to identify the hazards is quite high when compared to that of a mechanical engineer who has become a safety officer. But then, is this undermining the role or importance of the safety engineer or the officer? No. So when a risk assessment is being done, both are involved, isn't it? So the function of identifying, then evaluating and controlling the risk is still with the is though a major portion is with the line management, but the risk perception will be kept within a particular band due to the presence of the safety professional, isn't it? So that is how risk assessments are made. That is how things are brought. Risk perception is brought within a particular band, isn't it? So what is risk perception? I mean, in organizations which have common values, beliefs, and way of doing things, they have a narrower band of perception, risk perception. That is, everybody is able to identify the risk or the level of risk within a particular bandwidth. So that bandwidth will not be very big. It will narrow down. So they may make a small mistake between 4 and 5 or 3 and 4, but it will not be a difference of 1 and 5. So that's the meaning of risk perception. In organizations which have good culture, this when the teams make their risk assessment, their risk perception is narrowed down into a particular bandwidth, which helps them arrive at a good understanding and to provide almost an accurate, if not almost, okay, an accurate, if not almost perfect risk rating for each of the risks, and then leverage the hierarchy of control, leverage the terms like time, trouble, and cost to bring the high risk uh, hazards down to medium or to low or negligible risk levels. So
Sorry, sir, can I interrupt you? I cannot see your screen.
you cannot see my screen, ma'am. Okay, it's still
Yes.
in the same traditional. Okay, I'm sharing it once again.
No, your
I
screen is
can hear.
visible. Your screen is visible. I think there is some network issue on the other side. It's visible.
Okay.
Sorry?
The screen is
Yeah.
visible. The screen is visible.
Or you see it on the other side, at your side.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I see it on my side.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
cannot
just
see.
reshared my screen as well. So, and it shows that it is on that. I have not changed the slide since I started, because we're in slide number 3. Now we are going into slide number 4. Okay.
Or I even joined late.
Sorry.
I even joined late when I was asking it to be accepted. It takes
Okay.
so long. Mm.
Okay.
Okay,
It's
but it's
maybe it's
okay.
slow.
Let
The
me just
internet.
follow then.
I understand. Okay. Are you able to see the slide now? The slide is like it is talking about proactive safety right now. Are you able to see it now?
I cannot see any.
Oh, maybe
So miss,
you should.
maybe my laptop which is maybe having a problem.
I understand. Oh, you can try logging out and then logging in. Maybe it will do the trick. Let's see. Okay.
Oh,
So we
okay.
continue while she tries that. Okay. So until now we have discussed about traditional safety. Now we are discussing about proactive safety. Okay. Or safety differently. See, there is an author. I think his name is Decker. I cannot remember his full name, but his last name is Mr. Decker. Okay, so he has written this book called Safety Differently. Okay, which reflects the modern way of looking at safety. That is the modern perspective, like our ISO 45001 standard, which is the most modern standard for managing health and safety. It 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 molds itself to adapt all that he says in the most of what he says in his book Safety Differently. That is, earlier we were looking safety in a reactive approach, whereas now we are looking at safety in a proactive way. That is, nowadays we believe that by creating a learning culture, by creating a blame proof culture, by creating certain types of cultures, okay, we can prevent the accidents from happening by utilizing various tools like toolbox talk, like regular training. These are administrative controls, like using the permit to work system for life critical aspects. So instead of waiting for the accident to happen and then think about various ways and measures of what do you call controlling the risk, we keep things in place which control the risk and which prevent any incidents from happening, isn't it? So we have the permit to work system, especially we have the toolbox talk, which we have the safety task analysis and risk reduction talk. We have the JSA, that is job safety analysis. So can someone tell me what is the difference between a JSA and a risk assessment? Quickly, someone can unmute and tell me what is the difference between JSA and risk assessment? No? Okay, no, not an issue, not an issue. You see, risk assessment is dealing with a wide range of activity, whereas JSA is talking about a specific task. You see the difference? It is like risk assessment is like looking at the big picture, whereas JSA is down to earth, task by task. That is, if there is if there is something called a risk assessment for an excavation, let's take a construction example. Okay, we do the excavation. Excavation is more than 1.2 meters. So that makes it what? That makes it a confined space. Okay. So in that we lay the PCC, or we lay the elastomeric membrane, then we lay the PCC, then we lay the then we put in the shuttering, then we put wooden shuttering or whatever shuttering, then we put the rebar cages, then we do the concreting. These are all individual tasks which are again all happening within the excavation when we are doing the foundations, isn't it? So JSA will be there. There will be a common risk assessment for the entire activity which happens within the excavation. And JSA, there will be one JSA for the concreting, there will be one JSA for shuttering, there will be one JSA for rebar work, there will be another JSA for concreting operations. So in that, the task which is shuttering is again split into 4 different steps, and the hazards associated with each of these 4 steps is identified and controlled using a particular control measure. The risk assessment is done by a team which has safety officers, safety professionals, the line management, which is the manager, and also engineers, and also senior workers and supervisors, whereas JSA is done by the supervisor and his team. Okay. Toolbox talk is done by the supervisor and is given to his team. Safety task analysis and risk reduction. These are, why are we doing all this before we start the work? We are not holding a toolbox talk, mass toolbox talk after an incident has happened. Before any incident can happen, in the toolbox talk, we or in the start talk, which is again like a JSA start talk. Before that particular, if the task is changing, we will have another, depending upon the task, isn't it? In the morning, we have done shuttering, and in the afternoon, we are going to put rebars within that shuttering. So the JSA will be for shuttering, will be for rebar work, placing of rebar cages inside the. So this is a proactive approach that prevents accidents from happening, isn't it? So this is the modern way. This is the best possible way that we have found to handle occupational health and safety. How? By after going through several incidents like the Piper Alpha, which happened in 1988, we had the Chernobyl incident, I think something around 80s, 1986, 87. So the term culture, have you heard about the word culture? Safety culture. Okay. We even discussed it on the last slide. Like, what is safety culture? Safety culture is common values, beliefs, and way of doing things. Okay. So this safety culture, how did it come into the picture? Mostly it was not part of the traditional safety. Safety culture started coming into the picture from 1987-88, because when the Chernobyl incident happened, Chernobyl is a nuclear runaway reaction. So there was a nuclear reactor in Chernobyl, and there were a set of people who were very adamant, who were not having a particular safety leadership, and they were risk mongering and did not understand about safety culture, did not understand how to take other people's views into consideration and other people's lives into consideration, which led to the heating up of the reactor and the nuclear reactor and the ensuing explosion, which spread nuclear radiation across several countries in Europe. Okay, so when the International Atomic Energy Agency, I, IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, so this agency brought in the concept of safety culture. They said things have to be proactive, or the entire organization. It should not be like the leader is thinking in one direction and his assistant is thinking in one direction. Okay, because the assistant who was with him, because it was a communist country at the time. Okay, so it was almost like a military organization where the assistant cannot open his mouth and say, sir, this can be wrong, what we are doing is wrong. Okay, so even though the assistant told him that this, what we are doing is wrong and it can lead to an accident, he was not listened to, isn't it? So the systems were very rigid. There was no concept of safety culture. Okay, so this led to the accident. That is how they identified the need for having a safety culture, a proactive safety culture, a positive safety culture, wherein things are done to avoid accidents. Okay, so that is the thing. So see, in this, it is driven by understanding normal work, learning from what goes right, not just what goes wrong. You understand? So this is all about proactive safety. Okay, so this is like proactive orientation is like you have to act before an incident occurs. That is, you have to think, you have to generate what if scenarios when you are doing the risk assessment. When you are doing this thing, you have to generate worst case scenarios or what if scenarios and see how you can control the risk associated with such scenarios. So this is all about proactive safety. So what is used in proactive safety? What are the tools? See, there are safety observations, near miss analysis, risk assessments, human factor study. See, what is human factor study? What is human factors? You see, as a human being, suppose uh, there is an underground drainage in the factory. Okay, in the factory, there's an underground drainage, and one person is using his mobile. Okay, somebody has removed the, what do you call, the lid on top of the opening for the underground drainage, and they have kept it aside. And this person, while what do you call, jaywalking along with his mobile, has walked in and fallen into this particular underground drainage. Okay, so generally, what is the perception? The perception is that because of his unsafe behavior, he has fallen into the manhole, isn't it? But can the manhole, when we are investigating, we will come to the underlying reasons. What are the underlying reasons? The underlying reasons are, if it is a manhole, somebody is working inside, there should be somebody who is outside, which is like an attendant or a hall watch, or at least a supervisor, and he should barricade that place. Had it been barricaded and had there been a particular supervisor at that place, this person would have not fallen into the manhole, isn't it? So when we look at incidents, it is very easy to blame the human being. Okay? But there are several factors that are playing on the human being. There are several factors. To name, three are the most important factors for that particular incident to happen. What are those three? Individual factors, the individual personality of that human being. But what are the other two, which are the most important factors? They are the job factors and they are the organizational factors. So the influence of the job factors and the influence of the organizational factors ensure if it is a proactive safety management system in place, the organizational factors and the job factors will prevent this person from doing this mistake, which is inherently there inside it is his individual trait, isn't it? Individual trait to jaywalk, isn't it? That is his individual trait. Okay, but had these controls in terms of job factors, that is supervision, okay, and in terms of organization, that is if you are doing certain things, certain high risk things like opening up a manhole, which can be termed as a confined space, you should have a permit and you should have several controls and you should have if that is the organization's culture, before somebody does this, they will not be an open manhole in the first place, isn't it? So this is what we are talking about, proactive safety. That is a proactively safety, health and safety management system is something that investigates its near misses, is something that does its risk assessments and JSAs in a suitable and sufficient manner. Okay, so when they do it in a suitable and sufficient manner at the site, it helps prevent, it helps us to understand the level of risk, whether it is high risk, medium risk, low risk. And then once we know that it is high risk, it is our responsibility and accountability as the line management to reduce it, isn't it? So that is the responsibility. It is shared by everyone. It is not a blame culture. Like in certain organizations, if an accident happens, the first thing that comes out is, where is the safety guy? What is he doing? Okay, so that is not a proactive organization, or that sort of organization is not an organization that has proactive safety management system or a proactive safety culture or a positive safety culture, isn't it? So now let's move on to the next slide. I'm changing the slide. If you people can see, I have changed the slide, right? Can everybody see the change? What is written on the slide as of now? Am I audible to you guys? You can unmute and say yes.
Yes, we can see. We can see.
Okay, great. Okay, so we are talking about, on this slide, we are talking about, what do you call, are we nearing to our time? How much more time do we have? Not much. Okay, if we don't want to enter into the question and answer time. Okay, so what is the origin of the management system? The present day management system, which is ISO 45001, which is a proactive management system, has several elements. One of those elements is, you can remember these elements by the acronym CLP SOPI. So what is C? C is context of the organization. L is for leadership commitment and worker participation. P is for planning, where all your risk assessments and all these things come into place. S is for support. O is for operations. Support is general arrangements, special arrangements. Okay. Operations, that is, it is the do part of the PDCA cycle. Okay. Then you have the monitoring, SOP, that is performance monitoring. I is improvement, that is. So these are the interactive, interdependent elements that help us manage the occupational health and safety system, isn't it? So what is the predecessor of these things? The predecessor of the management system, as we see it, are these things, like Mr. Frederick Taylor, who has written this book called Scientific Management. He introduces structured work planning. That is, in those days, that is in the beginning. Okay, so good. So this is the origin of safety management systems. So how it evolved between 1900s and 1920s and 1950s and 1970s, when we had the ILO, OSH, and then we had the ISO 9001 and 14001. 45001 is safety, but it has come in at a later time. Okay. So then in the 1930s, we had the Skewart cycle, which is about plan, do, study, and act. So these were the 4 steps which were designed to improve the quality of work. Okay, so everything started with quality and now it has turned into safety. The same thing, Deming cycle. This came out in the 1950s. Okay, our present day ISO 45001 is based upon this PDCA. That is plan, do, check, act. Okay, so what is the difference between PDSA and PDCA? Okay, so here the emphasis for PDSA is on learning and cause and effect. Okay, and what is it checking? It is checking and correcting. It is all about checking and corrective action, whereas the PDCA is about the corrective action. Okay, then what is the study that happens with the PDSA? It is an in-depth analysis, whereas check is a very fast. You are checking using a checklist whether it's okay or not. You're fine. What is the field? The field for PDSA is statistics, whereas the field for PDCA is management system. All our management systems, ISO 45001, ISO 14001, ISO 9001, are all based on this thing. Okay, the first occupational health and safety management system happened in 2001. It was a global management system brought out by the International Labor Organization. Okay, so we don't have much time. So if you have questions, we can discuss about those things. Then we had the, from 1999 till 2007, when it was revised, we had the OSHA's 18001, Occupational Health and Safety Assessment Series, which got revised in 2007. And then in 2018, we got the ISO 45001. Okay, so this is adopted by almost all nations across the world, whereas this one was mostly a UK based, and the Americans were having their own, the Australians were having their own, and the world was split. It took some time to bring them all on one page and onto one set of agreement, which is this ISO 45001. Okay, these are the differences. Okay, but I'm sure it is different. Instead of the differences, we can go through the 5 or 7 most important things that help us build an effective health and safety management system. One is safety leadership. Like we have seen, leadership commitment, that is open and honest communication and all these things. Okay. Then we have the context of the organization. In context of the organization, we should understand what are the internal factors, what are the external factors which are impacting the organization, and how we should handle the customers, how we should handle the suppliers, how we should handle the regulatory bodies. Okay. So that work is not interrupted and accidents do not happen. Okay. Then we have the employee engagement. Without worker participation, nothing can be achieved. So organizations that do not have the buy-in, that do not get the buy-in from the workers, they struggle to establish a safety culture or even a proactive health and safety management system. So the first thing one has to do to have a good worker participation is to have open, honest communication, remove the blame culture. Okay. So once we do these things, the workers will begin to start participating in the management system. Okay. Like in safety committees and all these things. When we do consultation, they will start beginning to open up because they start trusting the leadership. If the leadership is not open with its communication, it will be a somewhat, they will not open up and the worker participation does not happen. Okay. Then we have the how to set the policy, how to set the objectives, isn't it? Unless we plan, unless we have a goal or a vision, and unless we work that plan, we will not be able to achieve the progress. So it's an important part. Okay. So then we have the identify and manage risk proactively. So what are we doing for this? We are doing HERA, that is hazard identification, JSA, okay, bow tie analysis, FTA, investigation of near misses, all these things are proactive things. Then we have the controls, isn't it? We develop the systems and the controls. Okay, that is the permit to work system. Okay, different emergency response plans. So these are the emergency response plan can, if well designed, can prevent a fatality and bring that fatality down into a LTI, or prevent an LTI and bring it down into a first aid or a medical treatment case. Okay, so very essential. Okay, and then we have the monitoring, auditing, and improvement section, which is the last portion, like we discussed in the CLPSOPI, that is performance monitoring and improvement. That is where we have the internal audits, we have the external audits, and we have the corrective action, preventive action. So these are the important parts. Okay. So, and culture is like the glue which is holding all these elements together. So culture and health and safety management systems go hand in hand. If there is no foundation of a good culture, these elements will not work together or will not hold together. Similarly, if we are not having a good health and safety management system, something that is proactive, like ISO 45001, we will not have a good culture in the organization. So that brings me to the end of today's topic. Okay, so if you have any questions, kindly please go ahead. Am I audible to everybody?
Yeah, yes, you are.
Okay, great. So would appreciate any questions from you, please, and we'll be glad to answer them. Do we have some in the chat box? Has anybody put in the chat box? Let me go through.
No, sir, there's no question in the chat box, but answering to Ms. Albertina's question, is it possible for the slides to be shared at the end of the session?
Sure. Not an issue, ma'am. You can share those slides to them. Yeah.
Okay. So Ms. Albertina, please fill in the Google form so that we can reach you out.
Yeah.
And also, dear participants, we would like to hear a feedback on the session. So please do fill in this Google form. Also, if anyone is having any questions, please utilize this time for asking the questions.
Yes. Are there any certificates offered? Certificate of attendance, something like that.
No, there is none.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have put the Google form in the chat. Please, if those who require the recordings of this session, or like Sir has said that if you wish to have the PPT also, please do fill in this Google form so that we can reach you out. And also, please utilize this time for the Q&A session. We are in the last 5 minutes. So if any questions, please go ahead. So I think there are no questions. So thank you everyone for attending this session, and thank you, sir, for giving us a very good insight into the insight to this webinar. So thank you everyone.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you for thanks to Webex for giving me the opportunity to present today, and I thank all the participants for their patience with me, and for their patient and active listening. Okay, it's been a nice learning event. Thank you.
Thank you all.